What if I told you that one of the most advanced fighter jets ever built, the F-35 Lightning II, might not be as invisible as we've been led to believe? For years, this aircraft has been marketed as a ghost in the sky, capable of slipping past enemy defenses without being detected. But recent reports suggest that Iran may have found a way to track or even strike this stealth jet using something completely different from traditional radar. Instead of relying on radio waves, the system in question may have used heat. Yes, heat. And if that sounds simple, that's because it actually is, at least in concept. The technology is called infrared search and track, and it could be changing the rules of modern warfare right in front of us. To understand why this matters, we need to first break down what stealth actually means. When people hear the word stealth, they often imagine complete invisibility, like something out of a sci-fi movie. But in reality, stealth doesn't make an aircraft invisible. It simply makes it harder to detect using specific systems, mainly radar. Radar works by sending out radio waves and then detecting how those waves bounce back after hitting an object. The F-35 Lightning II is designed to disrupt this process. Its shape is carefully engineered with angled surfaces that deflect radar waves away from the source, and it's coated with materials that absorb those signals instead of reflecting them. Even its weapons are stored internally to avoid creating extra radar reflections. The result? On a radar screen, the jet appears much smaller than it actually is, sometimes almost invisible. But here's the critical limitation. Radar is only one way to detect something. It's like trying to find a person in a dark room using only a flashlight. If the person avoids the beam, you might not see them, but that doesn't mean they're not there. Now imagine instead of using a flashlight, you use a thermal camera. Suddenly you can see heat, body heat, movement, presence. That's exactly the principle behind infrared detection. Every object that generates heat emits infrared radiation, and jet engines generate a lot of it. We're talking about extremely high temperatures from exhaust gases, friction from high-speed flight, and heated surfaces across the aircraft body. No matter how stealthy the design is, it cannot eliminate heat completely. This is where infrared search and track comes into play. Unlike radar, IRST systems don't send out signals. They are passive, meaning they simply observe the environment and look for heat signatures. This makes them incredibly difficult to detect because they're not actively broadcasting anything. In simple terms, radar shouts into the sky and waits for an echo, while infrared systems just sit quietly and watch. And that quiet observation can be incredibly powerful, especially against stealth aircraft that are optimized to defeat radar, not heat detection. Now let's connect this to the recent reports. According to emerging analyses, Iran may have integrated infrared tracking into its air defense systems, allowing it to detect aircraft like the F-35 Lightning II based on their heat signature rather than their radar visibility. The process could work like this. An infrared sensor scans the sky continuously, searching for unusual heat patterns. Once it identifies a fast-moving heat source, like a jet engine, it begins tracking its path. Because the system is passive, the pilot of the aircraft may not even realize they are being watched. Then, once the target is locked, an infrared-guided missile can be launched, homing in on the heat source until impact. Now you might be wondering, doesn't the F-35 have its own advanced detection systems to counter this? And the answer is yes, it absolutely does. In fact, one of its most impressive features is the AN/AAQ-37 Distributed Aperture System, a network of 6 infrared cameras placed around the aircraft that provide a full 360-degree view of the environment. This system can detect incoming missiles, track other aircraft, and even allow the pilot to see through the plane using advanced helmet displays. It's one of the most sophisticated situational awareness systems ever developed. So in theory, the F-35 should be able to detect threats before they become dangerous. But theory and reality are not always the same. Even the most advanced systems have limitations. For example, infrared detection becomes more effective at closer ranges, meaning if the aircraft is already within a certain distance, it may be too late to evade. Environmental conditions also play a role. Differences in temperature between the aircraft and the surrounding air can make detection easier or harder depending on the situation. And then there's the possibility of layered defenses. Modern air defense systems are no longer relying on just one method. They combine radar, infrared, electronic warfare, and missile systems into a single network. This means even if one system fails, another can pick up the target. Another important factor is saturation. If multiple sensors or missiles are used at the same time, even a highly advanced aircraft can be overwhelmed. Think of it like trying to dodge multiple objects coming at you from different directions. Eventually, your reaction time gets stretched. In such scenarios, even a small vulnerability can be exploited. And that's what makes this situation so significant. It's not necessarily about proving that the F-35 Lightning II is ineffective. Far from it. It's about showing that the nature of detection is evolving, and no system remains unbeatable forever. This brings us to the bigger picture. For decades, stealth technology has been a cornerstone of modern air power, especially for countries like the United States. The idea was simple. If you can't be seen, you can't be targeted. But now with the rise of infrared tracking and multi-sensor integration, the battlefield is shifting. It's no longer just about avoiding radar, it's about managing your entire signature, including heat, electronic emissions, and even visual detection. In other words, warfare is becoming a game of complete invisibility across multiple spectrums, not just one. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Infrared technology itself is evolving rapidly. Newer systems are becoming more sensitive, capable of detecting smaller differences in temperature over greater distances. Artificial intelligence is also being integrated to improve target recognition, filtering out noise, and focusing on meaningful threats. This means that what might have been difficult to detect a decade ago could become much easier in the near future. So while stealth aircraft are also improving, with better cooling systems, smarter flight paths, and advanced countermeasures, the race between detection and evasion is far from over. At the same time, it's important to approach these reports with caution. Claims about shooting down or successfully striking an F-35 Lightning II are often difficult to verify, especially in regions with ongoing geopolitical tensions. Information can be incomplete, exaggerated, or influenced by strategic messaging. But even if we set aside the question of whether a specific incident actually occurred, the underlying concept remains valid. Infrared detection is real, it's improving, and it does pose a challenge to traditional stealth design. So what does this mean for the future of air combat? Simply put, the advantage is shifting from who is invisible to who can detect first. Speed, stealth, sensors, and data processing are all becoming equally important. The aircraft of the future may not just rely on avoiding detection, but also on actively managing and manipulating how they appear across different detection systems. And that could lead to entirely new strategies, from coordinated drone swarms to advanced electronic warfare techniques that confuse or blind enemy sensors. In the end, the story of the F-35 Lightning II and infrared detection is not about failure. It's about evolution. Every breakthrough in technology creates new possibilities, but also new challenges. Stealth changed the game once, and now infrared systems are changing it again. And as these technologies continue to develop, one thing becomes clear. The skies are no longer just about speed and firepower. They're about information, perception, and the constant battle between being seen and staying hidden.